Hey guys, I'm Becky with All Aspects Restored and Recycled, and we are starting our series today on refinishing the sideboard. So this is the one that we had everybody vote on the color, and we're going to do it from start to finish for you guys just to show you what we do here. So everything that we do in our videos is going to be basically from what we do, from our trial and error, from our experience. And the first thing is prep. So today's video is going to be how we go about prepping a piece to paint here. There's a lot of misconceptions about the prepping process in with the different chalk paint lines, and so again, if you watch a lot of videos or you know at yourself, you're gonna pull what you feel is best for you, and this is what we do here and what works for us here at All Aspects. So, step one is always to clean a piece really, really well and to prep it. So, again, there's a lot of misconceptions that you don't have to prep a piece; you can just put the paint on and unfortunately, that's not true. Because we sell a lot of furniture here, we want to make sure that when it leaves and it goes back to its new home, that there's no problems. So the prep work is really key. So the prep will include things like cleaning, wiping back with water, and also scuffing. We're going to use the word scuff and not sand because I don't want you to feel that you have to strip a piece in order to paint it, because that's really not the case. So in this case, this piece is a little bit worked over and does need a little bit more prep than a lot of our pieces. So let's talk about it. Okay, so a couple of things. We've done a video before on prep, and I used mineral spirits. So today I want to use TSP, sodium phosphate. I'll use mineral spirits. It says low odor, and the reality is really isn't low. It still smells. So I really do like TSP or even crud cutter. That's another one. So you really want to get a good degreaser. So we tend to put them in these cleaning bottles. So the TSP is in one. You can see it's marked. Water in another, and just the tools that we have around for cleaning. Shop towels, blue shop towels, and then we'll go over the sponge with the Brillo on one side. We have some sandpaper and a screwdriver because I do remove the hardware when I paint. So scuffing. So there is a couple of different trains of thought for whether you clean first or or if you were to scuff the surface first. So scuffing the surface is really important because you want to have your paint has to have something to bite onto. So you want to be able to scruff up the surface so that your paint can kind of grip into it. So if you are just putting your paint directly onto your piece, there you have whatever is on there, and then whether it's fingerprints, Old Murphy's oil, that all has to get cleaned off. And then the scuffing of it is to give it a little bit of a grip. You want your paint or your primer to be able to bite and get on there. So when I say there's a couple of trains of thought is that sometimes we'll go ahead and we'll just start cleaning it right away, and it's really, really dirty because I don't want my sandpaper to get really clogged up. So if your piece is really dirty, you might want to clean it first and then scuff it so that your sandpaper doesn't get clogged with residue. So for the most part, I do scuff the piece of furniture first and then clean it. So let's talk about scuffing versus sanding. In this case, we are going to paint the full piece of furniture, so we're not doing any kind of stains or anything like that. So we do not need to strip the top. So let me just say it again, you do not need to strip it. I get asked so often, people are in, do I have to, I use a Festool sander, we have our sander here, and we get asked a lot, Becky, do I need to, strip the whole thing? And no, you do not need to do that. So So that's the nice part, is that, you don't need to take it down to bare wood. So to scuff it, you can use sandpaper. So a lot of times we'll do, this is 100 grit and this is 150. So I'll go over the whole piece of furniture with 100 grit and then 150 grit, and then clean it. You can also do it with, a coarse sandblock. So my sandblocks that I grabbed in the back room have been a little loved. So, but of course sandblock, and you're going to go through your entire piece and scuff it up. So again, that is so that your piece of furniture has got, you want to degloss it a little bit. So you don't need to strip it, you just want to degloss it a little bit, okay? So that would really be step one. If your furniture, and this is really kind of bitten up a little bit, it's dinged a little bit, in areas that you have kind of these scrapes or scratches or deep gouges, they might need a little bit more sanding and a little bit more work. Sometimes it's a little bit easier when it comes to gouges, instead of sanding down, that between primer and paint, to use a little bit of wood fill. That's kind of a protocol that we go here instead of having to sand the whole thing down. Okay, so step one, we're scuffing it up, not necessarily stripping, but scuffing. And then step two is we're going to clean it really well. So again, we're going to use TSP today. What I'm going to do is I'll take off all of the hardware. So we'll use a screwdriver. I have a flathead here. We're going to remove all of our hardware and put it to the side. In this case, this piece of furniture has kind of broken hardware. I don't know if you can see, but there's bolts. Didn't even bother using knobs. There's literally bolts. So we're just going to remove those and most likely replace the hardware on this piece. So sometimes it's really nice to use the original hardware. You can clean it up really well with 000 steel wool and the Wise Owl salve, and it buffs it out beautifully. In this case, because it's kind of mixed matched and broken, fresh new hardware will give the piece a complete transformation. So next we're going to use the TSP. There's two ways of doing it, and going back, a trick I learned a while ago from actually another Wise Owl retailer, refurbished gentleman taught me this trick a while ago in one of his videos, and I absolutely love it. And it's to use a sponge with the Brillo pad on one side. And so going back to the scuffing of the surface, is that when you're cleaning, just to give it allow your paint to have a little bit more grip when you're going to paint. If you clean with your TSP and you use the Brillo pad side and really clean your furniture really well with the Brillo pad, that's going to give it a nice deep clean. It's going to really get into the surface, and it'll scuff it up just a little bit more. Okay, so why we clean the furniture really well would be as simple as, like we were just stating a little while ago, your fingers have oil. So just the furniture being in your home or in your basement or just being touched, the different oils from your hands can get on the piece. We don't know if the piece was ever cleaned with a Pledge or Murphy's oil or any kind of oil-based cleaner. So the TSP will just work in it, or a good degreaser. Again, Pro-Cut is another one that I like. A good degreaser will just help eliminate all that and pull any of that off of your piece to help prep it so that your paint will adhere better. So between scuffing it and then cleaning it really well with a degreaser, your paint will adhere better. Okay. So after we go through and clean the piece really well, and again, I love using the green Brillo pad side of it and really going over the entire piece, everywhere you're going to paint. And we do even kind of run underneath and around the legs, and anywhere you're going to paint, just make sure you give your piece a solid, good bath. You want your paint to be able to adhere to the wood and not to anything on top of the surface. Okay. So after you do that, you're actually going to go through and then go back over it with water. And the reason why is because the TSP or the degreaser can bring things to the surface as well as leave a chemical residue. So you want to go back over the whole thing and just wipe it back down with water. okay? And in that case, I tend to use the blue shop towels, okay? So the first step of prepping our piece so that our paint adheres is going to be scuff. It's going to be a good degreaser or TSP for nice clean, and then finally water, okay, and then wipe it all back down. In addition, we're going to take off our hardware, put the hardware aside, and the nice thing about this first process too is it just, in prepping it, it also, as you're cleaning it, it allows you to, how I would say, get to know your piece. So this way you see if there's any damage, if there's any areas that need glue, is there any repairs that need to be done. Like I said, when I'm going through, I'm not going to sand this piece so heavily here because then I have to take the whole thing down. So in cleaning it, I get to know the piece and go, okay, during the process, I may need to get some wood fill and wood fill this area. So as I'm cleaning it, it allows me to get to know my piece, to know what I might need to repair, you know, in the future as I work through it. Also, our next step in prep in our next video is going to be priming. And so after I shut this down, I'll go through this piece and do everything that I just talked through. I like to make videos short and sweet, and they're a lot longer if I'm doing it and talking. So, and I really haven't mastered the two things at once thing. So after I shut this off, I'm going to go through the process that we just discussed, and then our next video will be on priming and when or when not to prime. And a key in cleaning the piece of furniture is that I'm going to watch to see how dark and how dirty and what kind of old stain comes off on my shop towels, because that is also insight to whether or not I will have tannins bleed through in the future, and it's really a key, one of the keys to whether or not I'm going to prime the piece. So thank you so much. Again, I'm Becky with All Aspects Restored and Recycled. This is part one of cleaning and prepping our sideboard, and I'll get working and we'll be back with part two and when or when not to prime. Thanks so much.